more people are telling us who they are. Terrific. So everyone, thanks for joining us. We're going to spend about 30 minutes or so going through the slide deck to talk about this year, LASA 25-26. Ananda and I were deciding today how to say it earlier this morning. And then we're going to leave the floor open for questions and any sort of question or answers or anything we can fill in around it. So I'll go ahead and get the presentation started. Please, if you have any questions during the presentation, drop them in the chat and Josh will give me a shout out because I'm going to take myself off camera because I don't like to watch myself when I do this. So give me 1 second. Okay, let's get going. All right, everyone. Like I said, we're going to spend a little time today learning about the actual priorities of the LASA program, who's eligible for the program, what assistance is available, how the awards happen, and the administration associated with that. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the scoring rubric and changes to the e-civis system, which is now called UNA. So the 2025-2026 funding priorities for the LASA program are very similar to as they've been in the past, to support the entry, growth, and/or sustainability of underinvested small women and veteran agriculture and aquaculture producers and fishers, support the development of new marketing, promotion, sales, and/or other distribution channels, connecting local farmers and fishers with the state of Rhode Island, right? Supporting the development of new products, including value-added processing capacity, fostering cooperatives, partnerships, and collaborations that benefit RI processing and benefit all producers, support climate-smart agriculture mitigation activities and climate change-related adaptations throughout the local food system, protect agricultural land and support farm transition planning. And along with, I'm going to skip a minute, along with that, support second generation farmers and in their succession planning, including intergenerational transfer of knowledge, skills, and operations to ensure long-term sustainability, and to assist with on-farm food safety improvements. Again, if you have questions, drop them in the chat and Josh will yell. So who's eligible to apply? For-profit, fishers, farmers, collaboratives, collectives, and producer groups, as are eligible nonprofit organizations. Though it is important to note that nonprofits are, for-profit is prioritized over nonprofit organizations, and the Loss Review Committee will only consider funding of projects if the nonprofit can't be funded otherwise. I'm going to let Heather in here. Applicants must be based in the state of Rhode Island. And the advisory committee will value geographic diversity in the applicant pool. Priority will be given to grant applicants that have not received an award, a LASA award, in the last 3 years. And this is also really important to note. Any equipment or vehicles must be special use equipment for farm and food production. So no cars, but tractors. We like tractors.
So Meg,
So
you
what
had
are
your
eligible?
first question. You had your first question in the chat, and I think it relates to the second to last thing that you said. So Anna said, we've received 2 LASA grants in about 8 or 9 years ago. Does that make me less likely to get funded? And so the
No.
answer is no. If it were within the last 3 years, you
Correct.
wouldn't be prioritized. But 8 or 9 years ago is not going to.
Yeah, I'm happy to work with you. So what are eligible projects? The project or the program, right, that you're going to develop as part of your application must serve at least one of the following purposes in order to be eligible. They have to support the marketing of Rhode Island grown agricultural products and local seafood. Projects that measurably enhance the competitiveness of Rhode Island grown agricultural products and local seafood. Provide financial and technical assistance support to organizations and producers for activities, and I know it's a lot of grant speak, I apologize. Activities and programs that strengthen a safe, sustainable, locally based food system, and other activities necessary to facilitate the success and viability of Rhode Island agriculture and seafood as defined in the RFP. What are ineligible projects? You have to demonstrate one of the program purposes. They are not reimbursement grants, so you cannot spend the money before you receive the money. If you are out of compliance with any federal, state, or local laws or regulations, if you have received a LASA grant previously and failed to meet those reporting obligations, if you're not engaged in local agriculture, aquaculture, or local seafood, and this goes back a little bit to being out of compliance, right? So if you were ever in any other department grant or assistance programs or part of a group that was unable to perform, right, or currently experiencing performance issues with a previous grant program, so are you not doing your reporting? Are you not in compliance? Non-project related travel, scholarships, general operating funds, ongoing capital campaigns, political or policy advocacy campaigns, conference or workshop attendance fees are not eligible. Fin fishing is not included in the LASA program due to the originating legislation, but shell fishing is. And projects that can be funded elsewhere. So we know that currently there's nothing happening at the federal level, but there are NRCS programs that can fund many things. And if you would be eligible for that program once they reopen, then you would not be considered for LASA. This program, this thing couldn't be considered for LASA.
Maggie, you got one more comment,
Yep.
question in the chat from Alan. Heard that they expanded from just food systems to fiber as well.
That's true, Alan. Alan's, for those who don't know, Alan is Lazy K Ranch. He's an alpaca farmer and a mushroom farmer. So what's the maximum grant I can apply for? Up to $20,000, but it has to be tied back to your actual application. It's not like, can I have $20,000 and I'm going to spend it? And the total funding pool is approximately $450,000. So the application, for those who completed an application last year for LASA, you noticed that it had changed a little bit, that some of the questions and the requirements and the information that is needed to be laid out and explained was more detailed. It's slightly more detailed again this year. So in the application, the different components are your project summary and the need. So what need is it meeting? What's the problem? And how will getting the grant and allowing you to move forward with either the acquisition of equipment or the design of something, how is that going to solve the problem in measurable terms? We have to develop a work plan with milestones and a timeline. That is part of the application process. We want to illustrate how the investment, right, that the state makes removes a bottleneck or allows you to expand the business. And then how do we quantify the expected results? Is there an increase in volume? Is it measurable? And how do we measure that? Is there an increase in accounts? Are you going to get more clients? Are you going to improve your margin? Is it going to streamline your processes so you're saving on labor? We have to be able to explain it and quantify it and have some sort of percentages attached to all those things. Does it expand a market channel? And what's the revenue logic behind your improvements? What's the evaluation plan and what data will you be tracking? Letters of support or partner commitments if applicable. So if you're working with a handful of other farmers to get a piece of equipment that's going to allow all of you to improve your operations, do you have letters of agreement between you? Is there a formal operating agreement? Is it informal letter of support? We would want to include those. We need a detailed line item budget. The budget is often something that trips people up, to be honest with you, because we have to do the budget twice, really, and it is very detailed. So each cost has to be tied back to the task and the outcome. And for anything that's a major item, like if we're getting a single piece of equipment, we're going to want a quote for it. Keep administration and overhead to less than 10%, or I encourage you to find another way to pay for that and to use the LASA funding as it's purely intended, which is to help you drive your business forward. And then if there is any match or complementary funding that you might need to buy the piece of equipment, like it's $20,000, but it's really 25, we need to show where that money's coming from and that you have it to be able to put it into the pot. So the basics to actually get into the portal and to complete the application is you need to register with sam.gov and get a UEI if you don't already have one. That's a unique entity identifier. You need to register in the Ocean State Procures portal so that you can become a registered vendor with the state of Rhode Island. You need whatever tax ID number you are currently using, either your EIN if you have one or a social security number. And you need an UNA account, which is the old eCivis account. So if you have an eCivis account, it will go over to UNA. The next time you log in, you'll see. And if you don't have one, there is a clickable link in the slides. So the application is actually located at the DEM's website on the LASA page. And there's also a direct link here to the RFP. The only way to get to the application, to get to the portal to find it, is through the RFP. It has an apply here button. And I know some of us, we worked through that last year, but it's still the case. I want to talk a little bit about UNA and the system because that leads to a lot of frustrations for folks. Best practice is to work in Chrome as the browser in incognito mode. Save as you go and log out before the end of the day or when you complete your day. If you don't save, it may not auto-save for you. And yes, you may be required to log into the portal twice for security reasons. It's not a hiccup. And this year, the application process is a little different. So there are 4 sections that must be completed before you can submit. So if you had a previous eCivis account, all your background information, your profile information no longer is there. So that's now contained in core information. Then there's a button where we complete the state of Rhode Island standard application questions. Then there's a button where we complete the LASA application. And then there's another section that's the actual budget, which we have to complete, which is that very detailed budget, and another budget defense before we hit the submit button. And I ask everyone, please do not hit submit until you and I have at least touched base and I've had an opportunity to make certain that you're all buttoned up inside the application portal. So if you haven't received a grant in the past, the award letters detail everything in the grant, the approval, the terms, the requirements, and the next steps. Projects can be up to 24 months in duration. Grantees are responsible for the interim and final reports, so it's 12 months, and then at the end of the grant cycle, full grant awards will be provided after the signing of the agreement or the contract. And 100% of the funding will be provided by or before June 30th of 2026. Program funds are administered by DEM. Grant applications are reviewed by the LASA Grant Advisory Committee, and they review every single application, just so everyone knows and sort of understands why there's a gap between submission and notice of awards. Last year, they had to review 90, all of them. So they have to review every single one, and they're scored, and we'll talk about scoring in a minute. The advisory committee members are appointed by the director of Rhode Island DEM and represent agencies, organizations, and individuals that have a role or interest in the planning and development support of viable agriculture and aquaculture. They're your peers. They're people from organizations that support you and your peers. And any advisory committee would disqualify themselves from participating on a grant review when they have a close personal or professional relationship with an applicant, or if they have any other conflict. So the critical dates, we opened 2 weeks ago and it's been slow going, which I know we're going to be picking up steam soon. December 5th at 11:59 p.m. is the application deadline. There will be no extension this year. The extension was given to us on the front side. Award decisions will be announced in March of 26. The grant agreement executions will be happening during the month of April 2026. All grant funds will be obligated by June 30th of 2026, and then final reporting is due August 31st of 2028 with the interim in between. So proposals are scored. Are they in alignment with the LASA priorities and impact in Rhode Island? How feasible is your timeline and work plan? Is it right-sized? Is the budget that you're asking for fit to the scale of your operation and your capacity? Does the market logic and expected return on investment for the state, right, align to your business or sector based on your proposal? Strength of the budget documentation and quotes. So the budget is really important, everyone who's here today, and the quality of the evaluation plan and outcomes. So again, how are you going to measure success? How are we going to quantify it? And how are we going to track it? Here's the actual scoring rubric. So the strength of your application, 5 points, right? What's the program? That's worth 5 points. The organization's demonstrated ability to successfully complete it within the time frame, 5 points. Alignment with the 25-26 funding priorities, 5 points. The funding request matches the scale of the business, and that's really important. So, if you're a brand new farmer and you've not made a lot of sales yet, so you did $10,000 last year, asking for 20 may be a stretch. We would really have to defend that ask. Is the applicant for profit? 5 points. And what's the return on the investment to the LASA program? Also 5 points. If you have any letters of support included with your application, that's worth 5 points, but you're not deducted. You just won't get them if you don't have any. The budget has the highest point grouping or biggest scored point of 15. Do we have quotes for purchases of equipment and supplies? And it's important to note that DEM frowns on you paying yourself. That's really not a good ROI for the program. And then the evaluation criteria. Is there a clear description of what success looks like for the project? Is there a clear description of how the applicant will evaluate the success of the project? And is there a clear plan for the project to become self-sustaining? That's worth 10 points. We don't want to come back the next year and ask for more funds to do the same thing again. How does it drive your business forward? What other technical assistance and supports available? So this webinar will be on the DEM website and on the Food Policy Council website. You can work with me one-on-one, and I am happy to do that until the bitter end, 11:59 on December the 5th. We have 3 in-person opportunities that we're still putting together all the final details on. October the 28th at Southside's building at 404 Broad. November the 1st with the Southern Conservation District at Fresh Harvest Kitchen. I don't have any, that's a Saturday. I don't have any other real details on that yet. And November the 4th with the Eastern Conservation District, which is going to be, I think, in Tiverton at the library, but it hasn't been finalized yet. And at the South Side event, we also have the Northern Conservation District participating. Things to know. Right, applications must be submitted by 11:59. There's no extension. They are only accepted through the UNA portal. No hard copies, no email, a download, only through the portal. If the application is not complete, then it doesn't even move to the review stage. So it's really important to connect with me so we can verify that, right? And if English is not your first language, and you have difficulty understanding the materials or the application, if you send me an email, I'm working on getting the application questions translated. And I think at the South Side meeting on the 28th, we're going to have some translation services available then. That's it. I'm going to stop sharing so that we can have questions, because I'm sure we'll have some, or we're going to be silent. I know it moves fast. Oh, there's stuff in the chat. Was that all of our questions already?
Yes, it was. Yep.
Okay, awesome. Any
Well, thanks,
questions we
Maggie.
can answer? Any clarification? This is a really terrific state-sponsored opportunity. It's not federal funds. It's been around since 2014, right, Josh? So we're in
I think you're right.
year 11. The deadline is December the 5th, Jeffrey. But if you want to work with me, I'm going to ask you to register, because the closer it gets, the less time I have. I'll be available for technical questions. I'll be available for last minute, that I didn't push this button or I can't find this link kind of stuff, but to really help you put the words together in the limited word counts that we have in all the places in the application. We'll run out of time to be able to spend quality time together. At Rhode Island Grown Day, I said, if you're not registered by the 15th of November, it's hard for me to provide any significant support.
Maggie, can I also add that some of the functionality of the grants management software can be tricky and out of our hands. So if we go to the IT folks to fix something for you guys, then that also could make the timeline longer. So just give yourself as much time as possible, just in case any of those IT issues pop up where we need to have a third party person assist. Yeah, because that happens every year, and it can take some time.
Right. Thank you, Ananda. That's why, again, I really encourage you to work in Chrome Incognito and not to try to come at it another way, because Chrome Incognito beats some of those blocks. Thank you for doing that, Josh. Josh just dropped the link to register with me in the chat.
And then there was a question that I saw, someone said, examples of funded projects. I thought I saw that.
Yeah, that's from Heather.
Yeah, and there are many examples. You can go on the DEM website. I'm going to grab that for you all, and you can actually look through past grant award recipients on that webpage.
I've worked on successful applications, everything from large-scale refrigeration, small tractors. I've worked on all kinds of things. Storage, equipment, expansion into a new line, value-added production, adding a line of value-added production goods. I've worked on all kinds of successful applications in the past. And not successful, but that doesn't mean we can't try again. No other questions? We're here, we have time, or we can give everyone some time back. I always know this, we always set an hour for this. And we know it always tends to go much quicker because until you're actually in the portal and looking at the application, it won't, it doesn't spark any real questions until you've touched it. There is, when you register with me, I have a copy of the questions. I have a direct link to the RFP. I have an FAQ that I create that I keep updated and will send out again periodically if there's been any changes to, particularly on the portal side, on the access side. The program itself won't change. It's a quiet
I will
bunch.
underscore what Maggie said, and she's very nice about it. She is amazing, and you should absolutely take advantage of her assistance. And do sign up sooner rather than later. Sign up now, because she's only one person and time runs out. And so for folks who are, here or watching this later, sign up now. Take advantage of it now.
Like a late night television ad, right, on a New York local station. Sign
That's
up
right.
now.
That's right.
I mean, we're ready. I'm happy to give everyone a half an hour of their time back if there's no more questions. Thank you, Ananda, for being here and jumping in about the tech stuff, because we know how tricky it can be. If there's
And
anything
we'll send out
anyone,
a follow-up email with all the various links and the slides and the recording of the presentation as well. So do take advantage of all the resources, especially working with Maggie.
thank
Yeah,
you.
and good luck to everyone.
Jeffrey has one question quick and we'll answer it. For farm
Oh, yeah.
vehicles for harvesting trucks, it would have to be farm specific, Jeffrey. Right? So it has to be something that is specialized in some way. Sign up and we can talk about it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye, Ananda. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, Graham. Diane. Sign up, please.